What's going on, gang? So I saw Fantastic Four First Steps last night, and right off rip, I think that this is the best Fantastic Four attempt we've gotten, and for that I give high marks. Before we get started, as always, spoiler free first, and then we'll go into spoiler territory after. I will give you a warning. And also thank you for everyone for liking, commenting, subscribing. Please continue to do so. It really helps out the channel and myself. So with that, let's get into the review. So the first thing I think is we have believable characters. So the family that is the Fantastic Four is very believable, and by that I mean Johnny Storm has a lot more to do in this go round. He's not just a misogynist playboy, kind of fuckboy kind of, stereotype. There's a part in this movie where he has his own little side quest that actually has consequences for the way the film ends, which is appreciative. They give Ben Grimm a lot to do, and is one of my favorite characters in this movie because he's just a great person. You Evan Mossbacher does a great job of communicating through the CGI and the costume and all of these things, and you feel like the Thing is just as human, if not more, than everyone else, which is great. Pedro Pascal kills it as Reed Richards, which is great. I'm trying to, choose my words carefully so as not to spoil everything, because I kind of want to, but he turns in a great performance. And honestly, my favorite character in this is probably Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, for reasons that I'll get into in the spoiler section. But yeah, between the Thing and Susan Storm, those are my two favorite performances in this film. And I mean, usually I'm a big Mr. Fantastic fan, just because he's so intelligent with, the way he goes about things, and the Council of Reeds, and how he can be sort of a Prometheus character where knowledge can inherently be a little dangerous, right? Kind of like in the same vein as Oppenheimer. But I digress. I just enjoyed the characters overall, and also their connectivity, their energy is great. So that's part of the reason why I think that this is a pretty good film. The set design in this movie, it's not a spoiler, it's in all the trailers. This is like a retro futuristic movie that takes place in what would be like the 1950s or 60s, but with futuristic tech that people of that time figured that we would have, and it works seamlessly. Right now, I made a lot of Incredibles jokes in the theater because it's just true. The Incredibles was inspired by the Fantastic Four. There's no debate about it. You can look it up. But there's like a train system that hangs like upside down, which was pretty cool. You have like this older school feel with like TVs and shop windows, and I'm trying to figure out what I can and can't say, right? But like even the screens remind you of like the old school kind of like round screens from the old days. But they do everything's believable. Of course, you have old ass cars in here, but the Fantastic car looked cool as hell. So just overall, I buy into this world. I was able to completely suspend my disbelief and just get completely involved in the story and the setting, but that had a lot to do with the set design and the costumes and everything. So that was great. I felt real stakes in this movie for the first time in a long time, as far as like Marvel movies, like even with like the Thunderbolts and Captain America Brave New World, I felt no real stakes. But here, because of theories that I had about how this movie would end, in conjunction with the ending or the post-credit scene in Thunderbolts, it kind of led my mind to go different places, and I'm just trying to kind of cut the story off. But I was pleasantly surprised, and it was like really tense. Like there were moments in this movie where I mean, booty hole fully clenched, and that's what you want out of a film. You want to actually feel tense and suspense. So that was great. And then the score, I really like. I know that everyone's kind of tired of it at this point due to the crazy marketing push, but I really enjoyed the score in this film. A lot of choir vocals, a lot of instrumentation. It feels like a church mixed with like a marching band all into one. Not a lot of heavy instrumentation. I think because it's supposed to take place in like the 60s, so that's pretty cool. What else? Good world building. I mean, I mentioned before like the set and everything, but even, you know, we go places that aren't necessarily advertised in the trailers, and I still buy it. I still buy the fact that there's an entire universe out there that like 4 astronauts just happen to be super powered live in, and you know, like there's like a version of New York with a giant rock man going around and picking up cars and talking to kids, and it was very believable. But I enjoyed the story and the world building that took place here. So honestly, it gave me Captain America First Avenger vibes. You know what I mean? Where Cap, it's a period piece, but just because it's a period piece, you don't necessarily turn your brain off or feel like it couldn't have happened. You know what I mean? And all that being said, just to kind of wrap up spoiler free, because I really, really want to talk about all the spoilers in this movie. Again, I don't have a rating system, but I would say that this is worth going to see more than once. I would definitely pay to see it again. Yeah, go see it. Go. I don't think that anyone in this, in my theater anyway, I don't think that anyone came out disappointed at all. So yeah, worth seeing more than once. That's a new tier in my non-existent rating system. Now, we're going into spoiler territory. This is your full spoiler warning. If you don't want to see or don't want to have the movie ruined for you, click off the video. Appreciate you for stopping by. Hit the subscribe button if you like the video and all those things. But now, I'm going to spoil it. I'm letting loose. You've been warned. So, first and foremost, the scale of this movie is so palpable. And by that, I mean, we go into space, right? So when the Silver Surfer comes and notifies everyone on the planet that Galactus is coming, they preemptively want to observe how real this threat is. So they've traced the Silver Surfer's energy back to a planet that she had recently stopped at. And they witness Galactus destroy a planet. And the scale of, you know, the planet tearing apart and like meteors flying at them, it was great. And then when they get tractor beamed, they get caught by Galactus and they board his ship. The scale of Galactus is insane in a great way. Granted, I know it looks goofy for a big ass purple nigga to be walking around and, you know, just existing. Just, it looks kind of weird if you're not a comic book fan and you're just coming to like maybe take your kids to this movie or whatever the case is. But when they're stopped at like the threshold of his chambers or whatever, and the camera kind of pans up at this man, like you get a full grasp of how big this nigga is. Pause. And when he comes to Earth, it's even better because that scene on his ship is very dark, probably for budgetary reasons. But when he comes to Earth, he hops out of his like spaceship. He lands in what I believe to be the Hudson River. Oh, no, I'm sorry, the Hudson Bay. And he towers over the Statue of Liberty and gives it like a side eye for some reason. But just him jumping into the water floods New York. And they give us that, you know, and he's shaking the ground, and it was a great spectacle. And I love the scale that they kind of communicated in this film, and I'm here for it. Speaking of scale and just like visuals in general, the space scenes. I don't know. Hold on. I'm gonna pull up the director of this film. I should have had IMDb pulled up. Please forgive me. I believe his name is Mike or Michael. Matt. Oops. Matt Shakman. So Matt Shakman, I don't know where the he got off, but this dude gave us a space odyssey film that's not unlike a Christopher Nolan Interstellar movie or a J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie, at least visually speaking. We visit, look, so they fly off into space and we get all the lens flares, we get all the usual space tropes, right? Space feels voluminous, and then we visit a supermassive black hole, of course. Ever since Interstellar, if you're doing anything space related, you have to visit a supermassive black hole. It's just a cliche at this point, but visually it's still insane and believable. The Silver Surfer surfs a lot in this film. Shala Ball surfs in the ring, like the event horizon of this black hole. She's like surfing on dirt and stuff. She surfs on molten magma planetary bits, and it's all believable. Johnny Storm's powers don't look awful. The Thing looks believable and great. I think that visually they did a great job with his, I believe it's a mixture of practical and CGI, but all of this visually is very pleasing. And there's some zero gravity scenes in here. Even the Mr. Fantastic, because it's really hard to like stretch the human form and make it look believable or make it look not stupid, right? But I think that this is as close as we'll ever get to a not dumb looking, stretchy, super powered person. That's just what it is. But all that to say, like, the visual effects in here are insane. This movie had no business looking this good. As a matter of fact, what was the budget? 200 million. Never mind. It was a very expensive movie, so I take that back. But shout out to Max Shackman and the director of photography or cinematography. I wonder who that was. Hold on. Here we go. Who's your cinematographer? Jess Hall, director of photography. Shout out to her. Yeah. even with the technology in here, right? Because there are some technology aspects of this film that look like they shouldn't have worked, right? So toward the end of the movie, they basically use Franklin Richards as bait, and they encase him in this bomb-proof, radiation-proof, fire-proof, everything-proof baby carriage. And the baby carriage didn't look dumb, but it also, I could believe that they just kind of like put that together with a couple plastic pieces for like $10. The suits, same thing. But yeah, visually, I think that this movie is, they did something. The plot. So, excuse me. The plot wasn't dumb. And by that I mean, I think the writers, this had a lot of writers. They had a total of 4, 6, 7, 8. Wait, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people wrote this. So they did a great job of making the plot believable by bringing it home. Essentially, this movie boils down to, you're not gonna get my baby. That's pretty much it, right? So at the beginning of the movie, they've already defeated the the Mole Man, and things are going well. They're on like at the top of the world, talk of the town, like everyone is blazing the Fantastic Four to the ends of the earth, which is fine. But then the Silver Surfer comes, and you know what happens after that. We got Galactus, and Galactus is like, listen, I don't even want to be like this, which is comic accurate, by the way. He's like, I don't even want to be like this. He's like, I basically hate how hungry I am. And they don't make Ozempic for celestial beings. So here's what I'll do. I won't eat your planet if you give me your baby, because then he can take my place and I'll be free. And immediately they're like, nah, you can't have my baby. Get out of here. And then he induces Susan Storm's labor just by looking at her. That was insane. So now, and by stakes, that's what I mean. So you've got them running away, trying to escape Galactus's ship while Susan Storm is going into labor. Johnny Storm had like basically used up all his oxygen supply trying to like defend against the Silver Surfer. It was a really tense scene. And again, to the visuals, so they travel at light speed. They've discovered light speed travel and teleportation. So they're getting chased by the Silver Surfer in hyperspeed. And at a point, the Silver Surfer catches up to them and almost touches Susan Storm's baby. And that was like, oh damn, like I was just like, yo, she really wants that damn baby. Side note, I think that there was a lot of unique uses of power in here, specifically the part of the movie where Susan made like her belly and her womb translucent so that Reed could see that the baby was doing fine. That was cool as fuck. I think the only negative thing that I have to say visually was the CGI baby at the beginning. You can't CGI a baby and make it look not weird. That's just the uncanny valley. But back to the plot. So you can't have my baby, and they make the mistake of telling it, because basically in this world, everyone is what Lex Luthor feared, in the DC universe. So Lex Luthor always thought that Superman was a bad thing because he would make people over reliant on superheroes. That's what these niggas are. These people cannot do anything without the Fantastic Four. Like, they look at them as like gods, and it's just, it's too much. It's too much. There's a term that I'm thinking of. I just remembered it. The parasocial relationship in this with the Fantastic Four is insane. I mean, they use it to their advantage later on, but Jesus, like, these people can't wipe their own asses without, you know, the Fantastic Four being a part of it. So they make the mistake when they get back. Well, you can't hide the baby, but they make the mistake of doing a press conference as soon as they get back to Earth. Like, I mean, just stepped off the rocket. And instead of keeping things under wraps, they made the unfortunate decision to be like, listen, one, we haven't beaten Galactus. And they're like, what do you mean you haven't beaten Galactus? You're the Fantastic Four. Then they made the mistake of being like, well, Galactus wanted our son and we said no. So then the entire planet turns to resent the Fantastic Four for basically choosing their son in the trolley. What is it? Trolley paradox? Excuse me. Trolley problem. Yeah, the trolley problem. And I don't blame them, right? And I mean, I'm not even a parent. I don't have any fucking kids. But I'm assuming that every parent watching this movie was like, yeah, I ain't giving them my, well, almost every parent, the good ones. The good ones were like, I'm not giving up my kid to some interdimensional celestial being who, you know, wears a purple giant helmet or whatever the case is. Like, I find you'd be hard pressed to find a parent who wouldn't empathize with the decision that Susan and Reed made, which I think is great. And that's what I mean by they brought it home. Because at the end of the day, it's just like family and protecting yours versus everyone else, but also collaborative, you know, teamwork and stuff. So anyway, that was pretty dope. And then of course, so Reed, being like the smartest motherfucker to ever exist, has been listening and putting out probes in space trying to contact distant life forms. Now, the 3-body problem had taught me that that's pretty bad, but this is Marvel. So he's been getting like feedback, and turns out that it was a Shalabal Silver Surfer, but she was speaking in her native language. So there's an entire subplot where Johnny Storm, who's known as being like a bonehead horn dog, he deciphers her language based off of the recordings, which is impressive enough, and basically gets the Silver Surfer to turn on Galactus, which I thought was pretty damn good. I mentioned before that Reed Richards had invented teleportation. That comes in later because okay, sorry. So initially, in order to save the planet, they know that Galactus has marked where Earth is. So Reed Richards turns into Patrick from SpongeBob. And he's like, why don't you take Bikini Bottom and push it somewhere else? And the entire time they were trying to carry that plot out, that's all I could think. That's all I could think. So they set up teleporters, giant ones, all over the world, and it's a cool scene because everyone on the planet has united against Galactus in trying to teleport the Earth 2% to within 2% of the habitable zone, which is fine. I don't know what would happen with our tides because the moon wasn't going to get teleported, but It's not my problem. So, and they almost did it. They almost did it, but the Silver Surfer came and fucked it all up. But I just thought that was a pretty hilarious and kind of, if it worked out, it would have been cool. But obviously it wasn't, because we needed Galactus to come to Earth. Just that meme. I'm sorry. But anyway, so that plan fails, and the public is turning against the Fantastic Four because it's like, hey, just give up your baby. We all want to live. I mean, I get it. I get it. But nonetheless, they then decide to get Galactus away from his ship and teleport him to the far reaches of the universe, which is also a decent plan. But when he finally, gets to where they need him to be, first of all, also, sorry, I know I'm all over the place, but there's a couple scenes in here where they kind of hint at how fucked up Reed Richards is because of how smart he is. Like, using your own baby as bait is insane. So, and part of it, again, this is like leading to the other themes of like feeling like family and stuff, because if you've been in a relationship, you know that only certain people who are like close enough to you can take you to a point where like you just lose your shit. Like, you have no recourse. Like, you're just like punch wall territory is what I'm trying to say. So Reed is trying to explain the way he thinks to Susan Storm, and to her credit, she already kind of knows, and they're having this conversation. He makes this weird comment about mathematically what made sense as far as giving up Franklin, right? And she looks at him and she's like, what do you mean mathematically? Like, what are you talking about? Completely understandable, right? And he probably shouldn't have said that. But him being him, he did. And they have like this whole argument, and she's like, sometimes, I want to get this quote right, but like basically it boiled down, and I'm paraphrasing here, but like, sometimes you're so smart that it hurts me. And his response was, again paraphrasing, like, I know, but I don't mean to. And then the next day, he's like chilling with Franklin, kind of, just talking. And he, I guess because he assumes that his kid won't remember, he's basically like, hey man, I hope you're nothing like me, because I got some dark thoughts, and I'm like the only one who has these dark thoughts, but it's because I'm so smart, and it's because I have to consider every outcome and all of these things. And that's true. In the comics, Reed Richards goes across the multiverse and finds every version of himself, and they form a council of Reeds, right? So it's every version of Mr. Fantastic in one room. And they make some incredibly insane decisions. Not even that. Reed Richards is a part of the Illuminati in the Marvel Comics, which is him, Professor X, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Namor, T'Challa, I believe, like all the smartest people in the Marvel Universe. And they made the dumbass decision to send the Hulk to the planet Sakaar. Then he comes back and basically wipes the whole planet because he just wanted to get back. So, like, Reed Richards has done some in the Civil War comics. Like, Reed Richards he uses villains as, like, he puts microchips in them and controls villains to add them to the superhero registration side. But then the villains, like, their chips get corrupted and they get taken over. So now there's like a third threat that comes about because of Reed Richards. Anyway. So yeah, he is so smart, like, that it actually hurts people. So when the teleportation, like taking Bikini Bottom and pushing it somewhere else idea does not work, he literally just looks at Susan Storm. He just looks at her. And he's trying to convince her and himself. He's like, listen, there's another way, right? We don't have to use our baby as bait. And she's just like, I know. It's kind of like Good Will Hunting, where he's like, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Like, she's backing away from this nigga, and she's like, listen, I understand what you're trying to tell me, and I understand that we got to do it, but I don't like it. Please get away from me. And he's just trying to convince her and him, like, look, we can do something else. There's another way. Eventually, she just screams. She's like, I know, and goes invisible and walks away. And I'm just like, damn. I thought they were getting a divorce after that, but that's whatever. They stuck it out. Shout out to that. You know what I mean? And that's real. If you've ever argued with somebody, you know what that feels like. But anyway, they use Franklin Richards, little baby Marvel baby Jesus, as bait, and Galactus becomes aware of their plan, and so the Human Torch takes Franklin away from the scene, away from their teleportation device in Times Square. But Galactus has like this like weird like radar location vision thing, and then once he realized what they're up to, he beelines it for Franklin, and they can't do anything about it. It was insane. This was a great show of like how powerful Galactus was. He tanked everything they threw at him. Everything they threw at him, he tanked it. So Susan Storm used her invisible force field powers to basically magnify Human Torch's fire abilities, which I thought was cool. Like, that was a good like superhero team up combo type deal. So like they blast him in the eyes, he's fine. I mean, he winces a little bit, but he ends up being okay. The Thing throws like he throws a car at Galactus, nothing. He tries to smack him with like a crane. Galactus catches it and flings the Thing into outer space. Like, I thought he was maybe just gonna go to like the next town over or something. Nah, this nigga went into orbit. Like, you could see like ice forming on this guy. So the Human Torch had to go save him. That was insane. The Human Torch then tries to just like, at some point he blasts him with some fire, but Galactus is like covered in fire, but still marching toward Franklin. No problem. At a point, this nigga is smoking, he's on fire.
That don't work. There's no way out of this one.
Like the Invisible Woman is like trying to like tug at his like ankle or something. They did nothing. They did nothing. Like, this man was unstoppable, and that's the way it should be. He eventually gets the baby. Poor Herbie tries to like lock down the building. He just like scoops out the top of the building, and he has his baby. He has Franklin. Mission accomplished, and now he's like going back to his ship. And I'm just like, yo, like, what? There's nothing y'all can do. And then Susan Storm, I don't know if she is using the invisible, like the force field powers as almost telekinesis, but not. But she basically knocks Galactus off his ass, and all by herself, dolo, because everyone else is incapacitated. So she's like literally dolo pushing Galactus into this triangular field where they can teleport him away. And like visually insane. She's like she's doing it all by herself. And then I mean, I guess the next thing, like, she's like, you know, just focus on getting the baby. So you have the Human Torch trying to like distract him, and then Mr. Fantastic is like stretching, trying to go like get the baby. He does, but, and I like this. So they he gets like sucked into the teleporter thing, but then the scary movie cliche where the villain is not actually dead, he comes back. And for a second, I thought we were gonna lose Johnny Storm. He's like, tell Franklin that Uncle Johnny loves him. And I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna sacrifice himself.
Oh, you think I'm losing? No, bitch, we losing.
But all of the work that he did on the back end to convince Shalabal Silver Surfer that, you know, there's still life worth fighting for out there, she's the one to make the sacrifice play. Which, damn, you know? And the reason I say, like, I said that I didn't know which way the story was going, because at the end of Thunderbolts, we saw them in our movie universe, the, what is it? Marvel 666? No, 616 is the main comic book universe. I know that. But like, what is the MCU Marvel universe? It's 19999, 59. Yeah, okay. So in, you know, universe 19999, where we've had Thanos and Civil War and all that stuff, we see the Fantastic Four because they're in universe 828, which was a nice nod to Jack Kirby's birthday. So we know that they make it there. It's just a matter of when and how. I thought that we're gonna lose the Galactus and just say, F this, we're out, and take the baby and leave everyone else to die. I didn't know if Marvel had the cojones to go there, though. Turns out they didn't. But the entire movie, I'm just like, this could be a real possibility. They didn't do it, though. But so the movie ends, and Franklin is safe. The world is safe. They won. But Sue Storm dies, and then Baby Jesus brings her back to life, and you can see like the power cosmic in her eyes when she's resuscitated. That was a cool scene because Pedro Pascal did his ass off. Everyone in that scene did, as a matter of fact. And then, you know, we got a little sneak peek into, you know, Franklin Richards, who is one of the most powerful human beings, or not human beings, one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel continuity ever. But yeah, and then, so I was gonna save the mid-credit scene for the end, but I feel like it just makes sense now. The mid-credit scene got me the most pumped for in a new Marvel movie since, I don't know, I can't even tell you when, to be honest with you. Maybe the last one that hinted at Thanos. Like, so the mid-credit scene, the end credit scene is just a cartoon. You don't have to stay for that one if you don't want to. But the mid-credit scene, we have a 4-year time jump. And Franklin Richards is now like 4.5, I guess. I don't know. But that nigga's smart as fuck. He's already read Charles Darwin's, what is it, The Evolution of Species, or the Theory of Evolution? Origin of Species. Yeah. A 4-year-old has already read The Origin of Species, so he knows how evolution works, and way more. But Sue Storm goes to get another book to read to him, and we hear a weird noise. And I'm thinking like he's pulling a jack, and he's just like floating some stuff around him or whatever the case is. But nah, she walks into her living room and she sees a nigga in a green cape with a Dr. Doom mask in hand, and he's just like creepily talking to this kid, like just like, hey little guy, you ready for Avengers Doomsday? Like, and I was just like, yo, bring it on. Like, so, and there was also a cool little nod because basically Sue Storm like united the world. So she serves as like chairman of what would be the United Nations, and Latveria is like not there because of course Dr. Doom runs Latveria and he don't fuck with the Fantastic Four. He's a big ass hater. So that was a cool little Easter egg, but then to have him just show up at the end, just pulling up in their crib, in their living room, I think we're gonna enjoy Avengers Doomsday for sure. So that was cool. That was the plot in a quote unquote nutshell. So it went on for too long, but it's just another reason as to why I really enjoy this. I enjoyed this film. Again, like Sue Storm stood out for me specifically because This woman gives birth in 0G. She tanks Galactus solo. She gives a very rousing speech about family. Like, they just gave her so much to do, and I'm here for all of it. And then Ben Grimm. Ben Grimm is like a do-all, catch-all. Like, he's nannying. Like, he's like not nursing Little Franklin, but like he's like basically Franklin's caretaker. He's like the pilot for their spaceship and the driver for their car, and you know, he's entertaining children, and you know, like, they just gave him a lot to do. Like, I'm a big Ben Grimm the Thing fan now. He just feels fully fleshed out. So yeah, Galactus was done right. He didn't look too weird. I don't know what this, like, the texture on his skin and his face was, but it looked kind of like a technovirus or something. Like, it felt very mechanical or industrial. It was weird, but it also was pretty cool. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This is a good movie. I would pay to see it again. Probably will. It's worth seeing more than once. And this is the first Marvel movie in a long time that feels self-contained, doesn't feel like a stepping stone, is a good story through and through, and just doesn't feel like it has an alternative agenda, which is great. So yeah, go see it. I'm out.